you want to tune in a little bit?
Sure.
Like come in?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
We can cut this out, but it'll help me at least.
Okay.
That's so much better.
Are you feeling better?
Yeah.
Hi. Should we talk about yoga? Let's hear about yoga.
For how long? How much time do you have? What do you want to know?
We should make this like a 100-part episode.
I'm on. Time's an illusion, my friend.
Well,
my catchphrase all freaking weekend.
Tell us about yoga.
You want to know about yoga, or you want me to start with my journey of yoga?
Let's hear. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm just supposed to talk to you like you've never heard the story before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might get new things, and you might share new things.
Very true.
So I'm excited and plus I love hearing it. So no matter what, I'm just like, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. 3 years ago, hit my rock bottom. I was super depressed, insecure, negative mindset, hated life. And I was like, how much worse could this get before I start contemplating suicide? And I wasn't at the point of suicide, but my uncle had taken his life when I was 15. And I was at such a place, I didn't know at the time, but I was at such a place of compassion for him. Like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you? This fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as moms, we're kind of in that role where you have to fix it. You know, we can't leave our kids. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, that decision probably would have been a lot easier. So I decided to start fixing it, and I found like so many modalities, right? Spiritual healers, psychedelics, breath work, actually no, not breath work yet at that point. Studying just on how the mind works, Joe Dispenza's rewiring your brain, all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I stumbled upon Gaia, which is just, you know, a streaming site for all the cool things, right? It's like the best thing ever. I love Gaia. I'm like They should give me commission.
I feel like it's like school. Like that's really school.
That's what school should be. Like I want to let Charlotte just homeschool as long as you watch Gaia at least 5 hours a day.
The one TV I'll let you like.
Yeah, you don't even have to ask. Gaia, sure. That would be fine.
Okay, well, you know Billie Eilish?
Yeah.
Okay, right? Everybody does. So like her parents said they could stay up as late as they wanted as long as they were playing music. And look what came of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were like, can we stay up? And they're like, no. And they're like, but if you play music, then you can stay up as long as you want. It doesn't matter. So that's what they did. They just stayed up and just like
loosen the reins, but like direct the ship a little bit. I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Gaia.
Gaia. So I was like on Gaia, and before all of this, my yoga practice was very physical. I watched a lot of like Yoga with Adriene, which is a great gateway, you know, because her catchphrase is find what feels good. And that is as spiritual as you can get without getting spiritual, right? So it appeals to everybody. I was atheist at the time. I was like so lost, you know, so it was so helpful to me to have that little like gateway into yoga. But my practice was like never consistent. You know, I would watch a video here and then a video there and whatever. I have no idea why I decided to look for a video on Gaia. Maybe because at that point I was starting to catch on, like this is more my thing rather than like YouTube and stuff that I can find out in mainstream. So I stumbled across Kundalini Yoga. I had no idea what Kundalini meant, never heard the term before ever, and I just did this practice and it kicked my ass, but I felt so good and I loved it, and I did it the next day and the next day and the next day, and I never set a goal that I'm going to do this amount of days. I just came back every single day because I loved it so much, sometimes twice a day.
Do they have like episodes that you can watch?
Yes, on Gaia. The ones that I watched was Guru Jagat. She's a lovely lady on there. They're super simple. They're Kriyas. So they're energetic exercises to wring out all of the garbage in our system. And when I'm doing this, I have no idea of any of this. I don't know what auras are. I don't know what chakras are. Nothing. Maybe like a tish, but not out of personal experience. I had just heard what they are.
This is why we have like, we're going to need 1 million episodes, because how many things have we just talked about? Kriyas, chakras.
I could talk about chakras for like 5 hours and like touch one chakra and just touch, you know, because they're just, and it's firsthand experience of just what it is to me, and it's different to everybody. But I came back and I kept coming back and it got easier.
What was it about the yoga that made you keep coming back?
Oh, it felt so good, like so good. You just get so much energy, you get such a rush. It's a physical workout, but you're not doing like strength. You get that, you know, that feeling after a good workout, that just like the dopamine rush. It's like that, but you're not doing like push-ups. There's not this person that's like, okay, ladies, 30 more seconds, like get those knees high. It's not for me. This was more inward, quiet. It settled everything down, and I had a major monkey mind, like, right, the negative mindset. And we can't change our mindset with our mind because the mind is repetitive. So if you're trying to get into a positive mindset, the journey to that is through the body, actually, not the mind. I didn't know this at the time either. And I'm trying to change my mindset back then with my mind, and it wasn't really working very easily. I'm sitting in meditation, and thoughts are coming, and I'm just like pushing them away, and thoughts are coming, pushing them away. And but those thoughts are coming from energy. And instead of pushing the thought away, you need to push the energy away. And that's what a Kriya is. So didn't know it at the time, but I'm like wringing out all of this energy. I got energy here from this past trauma, and I got energy here from this past trauma.
How did you know it was trapped traumas?
I didn't at the time. So I started shadow working naturally.
And that is?
That is...
I have to pretend that I don't know these things.
Unpacking the stuff. You know, I'm this way because of this. I'm this way because of this. And shadow work, I originally thought that it was working through all the bad sides of us. But no, it's all of the parts of us that we perceive as bad. And once we notice them, we can use them to our advantage. The processing was a full-time job. I was doing yoga, kriyas every day, sometimes twice a day. And then after that, you've got all of these realizations, these heightened self-awareness, showing you why you are where you are in life, what you did to get there, why you had to do it. That we form and shape ourselves in childhood just to survive. So the more you have to survive, the more you have to shape yourself. So it's just the understanding of why all that shaping happened, and then trying to figure out who you are without all of that shaping.
And this is happening, like, this is what you're discovering as you're processing everything.
Yes.
And then continue, of course.
Yes. So I'm like doing all of this shadow work, getting closer and closer to myself, like finding my confidence and understanding who I really am and what I actually love and everything. And at this time, I had no idea it was because of the yoga. They're not related in my mind at the time. I'm just doing yoga because it feels good. And the more I went through that shadow work and all of the pain and the reliving of childhood traumas and things, the more I went back to my yoga practice, because this was so hard and this was so wonderful. So then it really escalated, because now I'm doing yoga like any spare second that I had to cope with what I was going through to undo all of this. So it was a very rapid just flushing of all of this old energy. I actually reached out to my friend who's an energetic spiritual healer, and I told him, I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I am unpacking stuff, multiple things a day, just full force. The doors are open and it's all flooding out. And he said that I could ask Source to slow down. But I knew that I was already seeing the progress at that point. I wasn't yelling at my kids as much anymore. I wasn't freaking out. I wasn't so paranoid. And I saw that, and I loved that. And I'm like, no, we got to keep going. Like, there's more work to be done. And the quicker we get this work done, the quicker I could be where I'm at now, or a year from now, or wherever. So we just like plowed through. Plus it was good timing, because like I said, I wasn't working. So yeah, I was still momming full time, and my kids kind of had to suffer a little bit too. I was homeschooling, but I was totally half-ass homeschooling, because processing through trauma takes work.
What does that look like?
Time, energy. For me, a lot of it happened like while I was in the bathtub. I have an Ayurvedic practice that I do, Abhyanga, which is an oil massage. So I'd be doing Kundalini Yoga like in the morning on the porch. And then all day long, I would be momming it with the kids wherever I was at. I was usually at a decent place, because the Kundalini gives you so much vitality and life force. And it calms your nervous system, flushes out all the cortisol that are in your adrenals and everything. So I'm feeling decent throughout the day. But then at night, I'd be doing my Abhyanga, massaging myself with oil, candles at night, every single night. My partner at the time wasn't like living with us most of the time. So kids are in bed, and I'm doing self-care every single night, finding myself in the bath and just like observing my thoughts for the day naturally. I'm not sitting there saying, okay, it's time for me to observe my thoughts for the day. It was just naturally happening. Why did what my daughter do upset me? And then I would just naturally go back to like childhood or past relationships or this or that. Connecting the pieces. Thank you.
Like you're like, this is what I'm feeling, and asking yourself why. And then just kind of like really observing and like going backwards.
And
to find the root.
Yes. And reliving emotions, processing emotions that I suppressed when they actually happened. So so every emotion has to be processed. And if we don't process it, we harbor it. And then whenever you do any kind of energetic release, once you release it, somehow it has to be processed, right? Everything has to be metabolized. It doesn't go back into the universe in the same state that it's sitting there in. So just a lot of processing, a lot of crying, lots of crying, lots of...
Because it's like tears that have never been shed from...
Yeah, because like you're not supposed to cry. Don't do that. Like toughen up, you know? And I'm a very emotional person. I have such deep emotions. And I didn't like that about myself. I hated that about myself. And I suppressed those emotions and kind of like turned them off. Well, we don't turn them off. We just don't let them come out. So there was just a lot of that had to come out, and then a lot of just really loving myself for my emotions. Like, oh my gosh, what a gift that we have to have these emotions. Why would I not want to have this? Yeah, it's a lot whenever it all has to come out day in and day out, and it was exhausting. I was physically ill that whole time. You know, it's like detoxing. So I was sick a lot. Now I don't get sick. Everyone around me gets sick, and I just get like a little sore throat or a little like sniffle here or there, but it's not...
Your body's not, like, it has the extra energy to just...
Yeah, and things are flowing freely.
Yeah,
because all that energy just needs to flow in order for things to work. So it wasn't until after the fact I was just... all of that kind of started to slow down the processing and stuff. And I was getting so close to like the me that I am now. So with all this free time in the evenings now that I'm not like processing and exhausted from this energetic release, because it's exhausting releasing all of this. It spends energy.
What did you think of yourself in that time? Like, where you're doing this yoga, but it's also releasing so much, and so you're like, did it feel good to let that go? Did it feel like it put you in like...
It made everything make so much more sense. Everything makes so much more sense in my life, why I wound up in this relationship, why I found myself here, why this happened. It all just made so much sense. And I liked that. So
you were like finding yourself.
Yeah, I found myself. Yeah, just refinding, re-understanding, reconnecting. So now with all this, with more of this free time that I'm not spending all of these evenings just letting so much go, I had more time to like read up on things and research stuff. And of course, Kundalini was one of the things that I started looking into because I hadn't yet. I'm like doing this yoga every single day. I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, I know why I'm chanting this stuff because she kind of tells us why, but I wanted to go deeper on it. And I was starting to have a lot less of the unpacking and a lot more breakthrough meditations around being a healer and why we're here on earth. And it slowly started to switch into less healing and more universal downloads of what we're actually capable of, the expanded consciousness. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was the Kundalini
Your mind
energy.
was just opening, and you didn't even realize like what
that
was.
And my energetic channels, right? So for anybody that doesn't know, and we'll talk more about this later, but the Kundalini energy is the energy that sits at the base of our spine. That's our energy of consciousness. Well, it can't come to the top of the head when all this stuff is in the way.
What is consciousness? Let's also...
Okay. I would say it's probably our universal awareness of what we are, what everything else is. It's the connection to the universe and like what the whole point of all of it is. Would be the briefest way that I would kind of explain it. And we get into autopilot mode and turn off that consciousness because energy gets in the way and that consciousness can't rise up. Man, I want to go so much deeper in that consciousness.
Go a little bit more. And then we'll come back to the to the energy, Kundalini energy. Because I want to hear more.
I feel like our consciousness is just our overall connection, right? We've got the universal consciousness that is us. That is our most essential being, is the consciousness. And we all have that, and it's infinite, and we just tap closer and closer and closer to the direct source, which is out there. That's the direct, I'm not crazy. That's the direct source out there of that consciousness, and we all have that in us. It's what connects us. It's what helps us see things clearly. Because the closer we connect to that, and that knows everything and is absolutely everything, then the higher we raise our consciousness, the higher we know absolutely everything. And I don't say know as in dictionary type know, but the connection and ultimate knowing. It's a different kind of know.
Because we're taking everything in. Everything is happening, and we're taking it in regardless of if our brain is even processing it.
Yes, and it's already in there, though. So we're taking it in, but it's already in there, too.
And because, go ahead.
No. You. Woo! Do it. Go ahead.
No, just I'm just excited. I love it. I love it.
I feel like it's already in there. That's in us. Because as within, so without. So if it's out there, it's also in here. The whole point of saying it's out there closes us off as an enclosed vessel that it needs to come in. But it's already in. It's this infinite exchange of fluidity, right? It's an energy, and it's out there. And there's no direct border keeping it out of me. It's fluidly within me and without me too.
Like they say, when you have somebody in your dream and you don't know who they are, you actually do. You've seen them, in passing.
Yeah, we can create that.
Yes, but you're just not actually processing it. You are not taking it in, but the
mind and the ego
is taking everything in.
Yeah.
So Kundalini energy.
Okay, so as we move more of that energy away, that trauma, that old trapped spent energy, then that energy can flow up more freely. So I didn't know it at the time, but I was starting to reap the benefits of less of that garbage being in my system. And it was a lot less processing of garbage, because our energy and our trauma and stuff, they go in layers. So we've got so many layers to us, and our energy has so many layers. And we filter out and we cleanse out those outer layers. And then it goes deeper than that. And that's why we process through trauma time and time again. You may process through the same experience 10 times because it goes so deep. So we cleanse it out here and we feel so much better. And then we cleanse it a little bit deeper, and then we think so much better. And then we cleanse it a little bit deeper and we act so much better. And then we cleanse it a little bit deeper and we are so much better. It's not an act, it's who we actually are. Yeah, it's not something we have to try to be anymore. It's not a facade. It's not, and not even, not facade, but when we are trying to become a better version of ourselves, we have to create a habit of being that version first. And I don't like facade because it's not fake, but we have to consciously remind ourselves, no, I'm not doing that anymore. No, I'm not behaving that way. And then it goes a little bit deeper, and then that's who you actually, I have goosebumps. I love that. And then it goes deeper, and that's who you actually are. You don't have to remind yourself. You don't have to put thought into it. It's just who you are. Yeah. It's at your cellular level. So once less of that, then there was just more meditations on who we are as spiritual beings in vehicles on this earth, what that means, what we're supposed to be here for, earth school type meditations. It's when Ayurveda started coming in a lot more fluidly, as far as a remembering or the direct knowing. So just lots of downloads, which I thought was so cool. And it just completely...
Earth school.
Just a genuine understanding of what we're here for, which I was so grateful for, because a year and a half, 2 years before this, I was literally laying in bed like, what the fuck is the point? Why are we here to be miserable? And now I'm having completely 360, just like, not only do I know what we're here for, I'm experiencing what we're here for, I'm blessed for what we're here for, and it was just a complete life-changing. And I didn't know it at the time because I'm still not connected to the dots yet, that Kundalini is the, but I did that. I moved all of that energy away. I cleansed it all out. It was such hard work, but it was so rewarding, and I did that for me.
Yeah.
And I consciously did that for me, because I reached out to a friend and I said, I'm going through freaking hell right now. And he said, you can slow down. And I said, no, I need to do this for me. And I continued on the path, through the treacherous part of the journey to get to the light at the end of the tunnel, kind of thing.
That's how I felt like going through postpartum depression. Was just like,
I gotta do this.
Yeah, I have to do this. Yes. And there's a reason. What's going on with my mind? What's going on with my body? Why am I experiencing
Not just
this?
succumbing to it and this is who I am. I'm just a worthless, miserable,
I guess I'll take
mom.
those pills that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's I feel fortunate that
was enough of that glimmer of that consciousness, that all knowing of this isn't right.
Yeah.
This isn't right. That's just enough to get the spark going to unravel everything, is how I feel, is how I see it.
Really hard work. Really hard work.
Yeah.
But coming out and just
I did it. Yay, she's back. She was gone for quite a while, but she's back and she's great. Yes. No, I understand. I love that.
Yeah. So keep going.
Okay, so then I start researching Kundalini and start studying on it and connecting the dots that, whoa, that's why that happened. That's what was happening. I was just doing something I love to do, and it fixed me. I'm like, that's what she's here for. That's what she's here for, right? Because why else do we stumble along things, right? Why else does the journey take us here and there and everything? And that's what I'm realizing and understanding through yoga. So it applies, So, and then I started studying more on Kundalini.
Do you want to go a little further on stumbling? What did when you connected all the pieces in your life, what were those? Do you have you kept stumbling into the same direction?
Yeah. So just, my toxic relationship, my reaching rock bottom, finding Gaia, coming across this yoga, no idea why I'm doing it, just, all right, we'll do this. Is the universe it's our soul star, our guidance, just telling us okay, it's time now for her to start this chapter. And they do this without our consciousness, right? Because I was in a low place. I had no consciousness. Well, I didn't have but I'm not I need to try this because I need to do this or I need to do that. I was just in the dark, in the blind, and they made it happen anyways. And that's where we can fully surrender that they're working, whether we're aware of them working, whether we're assisting them in working, they're just doing their job. And then we find ourselves where we're supposed to be. So I feel like I stumbled across that and went through that. Okay, so I stumbled across that and I went through that whole process to learn how to shadow work, how to process, how to move our own energy. I didn't go to school to learn this. I learned it. I actually did it and experienced it firsthand. And it's different for everybody, of course, but I didn't study this stuff. I went through all of this so that I can know how it works, so I can experience how it works. Trying to think
School
of
of life.
the school of life, right? You don't have to go anywhere. You just are here. You can go somewhere, so I am going to school for Kundalini because I do want to deepen. But once I realized what that energy did for me, then I started just diving into it even more. Just a lot of self-study. Like in the dark, I wasn't like telling anybody about it. I was just like amazed and blown away and knew that this was what I was here for. We all come here for a purpose, and we're all trying to like find our dharma.
And the closer that you get to who you are, then that it just becomes more and more clear.
It's not even a question you have to seek out. It will just seek you out. It will just come to you, because we're all gifted. We all have something that we're really, really good at. What am I really, really good at? That. Because I did a really good job at it. I love it with everything. I'm so grateful for it. I would do it again. I would do it again in a stinking heartbeat. You know how you go through labor and you're like, oh, that was just so beautiful. It hurt so bad, but I would do that again. That's that whole experience. Yeah, labor is like 12 hours, and this was like maybe 6 to 9 months. I would do it again. And I do actually do it again. I subconsciously / consciously put myself in low places to pull myself back out in another different way to learn another lesson. And it's beautiful, and I love it. It's so cool. And people are like, I know people that, they see this pattern of me, and they're like, why do you do that? Why do you put yourself in like suffering situations? And I shouldn't say they see it as suffering and I don't. I'm just learning another way out. That's more of like an Ayurvedic thing of allowing myself to get out of balance, to like play the game of bringing myself back is like a lot of fun. But what?
Oh, that's just...
I do it all the time. It's so fun.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like I do the same thing, but I didn't know I was doing it. But yeah. Like I'm like, I know what I need to do.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna do it yet. I kind of am like, we're a vehicle, right? I kind of and I've never said this out loud, but
Welcome to Tea Talk.
I know. I think of myself as like a human mechanic, right? Because like we are a functioning, operating vehicle created of energy. And when you're like working with energy and healing energy and stuff, what is that? Well, we're like a mechanic. We're like making things work properly and making things flow and like figuring out where the problem is. And okay, is that the problem, or is that actually, is this not working because this isn't working and then that's not working? It's like a map, like an energetic map. And
it's like playing chess too, chess with your body.
And we're just like human mechanics. So I am always kind of like, all right, let's see how like rusty and like broken down we can get this machine before we're kind of like, okay, it's time to like change the oil and get things like back. I don't do that so much anymore because I've kind of like gotten a little bit tired of like getting in that low place and then having to do it takes work to like bring yourself back out. And I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, all right, I like to like maintain a good space so that I can spend that time doing other things, like studying and evolving and doing, growing in other ways. But it was a fun chapter of just like, yeah, I know this is throwing me off balance, and we're just gonna like watch that play out, and then we'll just like work on it later. And then once we get to a low place, like, all right, it's time to bring you back out. It's just fun, like exploring around with different elements and getting yourself back into balance. That's
Ayurveda.
That's Ayurveda. Yeah, Ayurveda is the self-practice of health and wellness, and yoga is more of like the self-practice of spirituality. So they're like sister sciences, and they both derive out of India. But yeah, Ayurveda is like health and wellness, and yoga is like the spirituality side of things, and they both go hand in hand, and I love them both.
Would like Ayurveda be part of one of the like limbs of yoga?
No, the limbs. So yoga is a spiritual practice. It's the journey back.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I love it. Yoga is the journey to the self. It's a spiritual practice. Even if you're doing the physical side of yoga, essentially it's spiritual. Ayurveda, on the other hand, works in the same way, but it is wellness. So it's more on like the physical energetic side, not so much the spiritual consciousness side. And they're both important because we need to be healthy and balanced in our mind and body for our soul to be healthy and balanced. But then our soul needs to be cared for and nurtured for our mind and our body to be healthy and balanced. So it's just like the balance and the caring of different aspects, two completely different aspects of our life that go so hand in hand. And then they blend together really nicely. So started studying Kundalini and started to go to school for it.
We were talking about the different like energy levels. Do you want
the chakras? Yeah. What do we want to talk on it?
So let's talk more about maybe Kundalini itself.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that. Because there's different paths to yoga. There's different limbs to yoga. So like I said, yoga is the journey to the self. It's like our spiritual journey is yoga. There's different limbs, which just refers to like the different practices to get there. And examples of that would be like breath work, meditation, asana, which is like the physical side of yoga. And that all is just working with energy on the spiritual side. And then the different paths are different ways to get essentially to enlightenment, because the ultimate goal spiritually, why we're here, is to raise our consciousness and get closer to enlightenment, or, eventually reach enlightenment, whether that be in this lifetime or, other lifetimes. We're trying to evolve to that higher state. And Kundalini is essentially the direct path to that, because of how powerful the energy is. And the end goal is consciousness, and we're working with the energy of consciousness. So it is that direct path to that higher consciousness, that enlightenment. It's a very powerful energy, and I've seen that firsthand. So it sits at the base of the spine. It's an energy that's coiled up, and it lies dormant, but then it awakens on its own sporadically, like throughout our life, throughout the day, different phases of life that we're in.
What does that look like?
What do you
mean? If it just like wakes up sporadically?
There's actually been situations where people fall on their ass and their energy wakens so intensely and shoots up through all of that energetic blocks. Like, who gives a crap that energy's there? We're popping through anyways. And that 6 to 9 months of shadow work that I went through was intense and very rapid, but still comparatively was so slow and steady. And I had a day to process and process and process. And this happens to people, and when it happens in the West, they usually get admitted to a psych ward because they absolutely lose their mind, because they're opened up to such a high level of consciousness. And they were so far from that just before. They're living their mundane 9 to 5, got to work all day to pay for a house that I don't live in, and fear, and limiting beliefs. And then they're literally shot open to this experience of how infinite and magical we actually are. And that's a lot for people to handle at once. And that's why, you have to tread lightly with the Kundalini energy. And it's loving and it's compassionate and it's very healing, but it's very clear seeing to show you what our full potential is. And that's a lot for people to handle. It's kind of like forcing that matrix pill down someone's throat. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So over in the East, if something like that were to happen, people would actually be taken to like a monastery for 60 to 90 days to live with monks and start to like integrate what is actually going on here. Because the way that most, and I'm just making up this, I won't even use a number, but most Americans see the world from such a small like lens compared to what it actually is. And they have to like reintegrate themselves into this new world or this like new plane that they've just hopped on. Like we literally just like pluck them out, like, okay, you were just, you know, normal American life, boop, now here you are, universe wide open, infinite possibilities, dharma, divine timing, and just, it's so much. You know, they see things and they think they're crazy. So that's how powerful it can actually happen. But it happens on its own just whenever it's needed. It's our energy, not just of consciousness, but of self-awareness and of healing. So anytime the body heals itself, that happened because of Kundalini energy. So our soul is energy. Our soul is a vibration. The Kundalini is different than that. It's a gift we received when we incarnated here with the human body. It's part of the human experience, and that's why it sits in the root, right? Because the root is our earthly connection, right? It's the fact that we are here. So this energy is our gift of being here, and we can utilize it. We can awaken it. We can direct it where it needs to go. We can send it here, there, and use it for healing purposes. And that happens, you know, kind of subconsciously, but then we can use our will, right? Because we were also gifted a mind, and we can use the mind with the Kundalini energy to spark our own evolution. And that's the whole big point of Kundalini, is that we don't need to just walk around waiting for life to get better or waiting for our sparkle of a chance. Or, you know, I feel like as we get into like higher states of consciousness and we start to view ourselves as like this light, right? So we're all a light, and we're walking around kind of spreading our light so that people can start waking up, right? Because consciousness is contagious, because as within, so without. So I can look at you and send you consciousness on a small level. But what people don't need to do is just walk around and wait for a little bit of consciousness to like trickle into the top of their head. They have it already. And then they have the tools of their intention and their mind to direct that energy where it needs to go. We are an incredibly freaking fascinating system that has everything that it needs to evolve. And that's why we come here, is because the potential here on Earth for soul evolution or collective consciousness evolution is incredible, because the mind is so powerful, the emotions are so directive, and then we have Kundalini energy. So we mix all of that together, and it's like, well, of course we would freaking come to Earth, because what does any living thing want to do? It wants to evolve. Well, the collective consciousness wants to evolve. So it's going to send itself here, and all the brave souls come here because Earth sucks. And, you know, in a way, I mean, it's hard work. You know, this isn't just, but that's how evolution works. It's almost like
steps, right? Like you have to first kind of live in the sucky place.
In the muck, yeah.
And then you have to like
dig your way out. Yeah, but that's how evolution works. Or
that's the reason we came here. That's the challenge. That's part of it, is we have to be here, but we also have to do the work to keep going.
Yes. So then once you see that flip side, okay, well, we're actually just here for this, then it doesn't have to be sucky. It can just be another obstacle to break through. It's like, okay, like now I get to use this tool, this tool, this tool, and this tool to break through this and then evolve from the other side. And it's not a dreadful experience anymore. It's just
now you're aware that, oh, this is like how I'm feeling. What am I supposed to be learning here?
Yeah, you get to observe it.
And then you can be thankful for it, that you're in that place.
Yeah, and that you have the tools to get out, because we remember what it's like to not have the tools to get out and need some sort of like, you know, crutch or something to cope, because we don't realize how powerful we are to heal our own stuff and to deal with our own stuff in such a breezy, easeful way that it's not even a headache anymore. It's just like, this is life and this is how I'm handling it, and no big deal. And that's kind of the yoga practice. And it gets easier, it gets better. So as more of that like energy started moving out of the way, and we call it a yoga practice because we're practicing it, we're getting better at it, and we're starting to integrate it, you know, kind of into our life. So once I got to a good place, I went through a long period of feeling so good that I stopped doing yoga consistently. You know, I got other things to do. I had to go back to work. I need to do this and that. And it wasn't something I could like keep up with every single day. Or I didn't prioritize to keep up with it every day. Or I didn't know how to integrate it into my life in a realistic way. You know, I don't have hours anymore.
When you were unraveling everything, what did it look like for your family? Because you said you were homeschooling, so you're with your kids for the majority of the time. So how did that look?
Well, it took a lot of time. It was really such a big priority of mine that throughout the day I was with the kids and stuff. In the morning, it was just such a priority. I found time to do my yoga. I learned how to do it with the kids around. But then the processing through all of the trauma, that's really a lot more of like an inward work and like the meditation and stuff where you're really just like tapping in.
Are you allowing these emotions to flow through you in front of the kids? Or are you giving yourself some space?
I got really open with them and just started just talking to my 6-year-old, normalizing it. You know, like I'm working through this. I've got this going on. I'd get into like a low place and I would know that I'm getting into a low place because I'd start yelling or I'd start projecting. And I went through a phase of like being really hard on myself about all of that. And I noticed the harder I was on myself about it, the less it went away. You know, the harder it was to stop those habits. And once I just kind of relaxed into, this is who you are, like this is where you're at right now as a person, and you're growing and you're evolving and you're not always going to be like this, and this is fine that you're like this right now. Just be open with your kids so that they know why you're like this, so that they can learn not to be like this. Then it just went away. You know, I'm still imperfect, but it just kind of went away. Once I stopped with the judgment and the being hard on myself. And that's where like the grace comes in. It actually is a huge deal. You can't be hard on yourself. It will not stop. The habit or anything, the bad behavior, the bad thoughts, it will not go away until you allow it to be there and you accept it. And then it'll actually go away. And that's such a hard like polarity to be in. It's like, okay, I'm trying to change something about myself, and it won't change until I accept it about myself. But then once I accept it, it'll change. Yes, it does. Because once you accept it, then the reason you are like that, or the reason that is happening, that will show up. But it can't show up as you're restricting against it. So that's honestly the hardest part for me was to get to a place of being like, no, this is okay. She screamed at her kids today. That's all right. It's fine. It's all going to be good. Trust in the universe. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. A lot of just like, and that's where the spirituality comes in, is you just truly, genuinely, you know, that got so engraved in me that it wasn't a habit I was having to remind myself anymore. It was just genuinely how I thought. No, this is just how she is. Like, this is just the vehicle of Abby right now, is this version. That's cool. Still just a soul and a body. Can't be that bad. Just little specks of dust, you know, like, well, you sweating. You screamed at your kids today. All right. So what? Go to bed, you know? And then it just got better because I'm not stressing stuff anymore.
So then those behaviors just kind of...
They quit me.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And we're still working on it, you know, and now
well, it's like you were saying, there's layers.
Yes, and I still accept myself for where I'm at now, you know, so even though it's 2% of what it used to be, that's where I'm at now. I'm not hard on myself about it, you know. Every once in a great while now she yells at her kids. Okay. Maybe they deserved it. No, they did.
It's just another layer of like looking inward, like, oh, okay, well, what was really making me feel that way? And it might just be something else that was tucked away that you didn't know about.
Well, and even if not that, I mean, we have emotions. This is just part of life, you know. My 6-year-old, she's a lot. She drives me freaking nuts sometimes. I lose it because she doesn't leave me alone, and I yell. Okay, I'm a human. I'm not just a soul. I have emotions. I have limits of what I can handle. I have a mind that's like trying to do other things, you know? And it's not even like, oh, what's actually going on in here? No, I was freaking annoyed. I'm a human being. It's okay.
It reminds me of like the lion moms. When the cubs are just like ripping on the mom's ears, and then she rips
it at her. Yeah, it's gonna be okay. That's the whole point.
The kids are learning that too, though, right? Like you were saying earlier, just like letting them see what emotions look like, and that they happen, and that we still continue to be the best that we can be.
Yeah, and I'm so open about it. You know, I'm so sorry I yelled. I shouldn't have done that, you know, but you were really driving me nuts. Like, I asked you 5 times to stop, and you didn't. So what am I going to do? What I do is I'm going to yell. That's what happened. And I'm so sorry, you know. I'm just imperfect. She gets to see her mom being like imperfect, being a human being, but then also being so like, oh, life is beautiful, and oh, this is great. And like we are like infinite. We have to allow ourselves to be infinite versions of ourselves. Like, and that's where the understanding that like our ego doesn't have to be this tiny little box. Like sometimes I'm like peaceful, just like quiet, slow person. Sometimes I've got energy galore and I'm like this, and then sometimes I'm like this, and sometimes I'm like this, and not attaching to like, oh, this isn't me. Yeah, it's literally all you. Wherever you're at right now, whatever you are doing right now, that's you. That's you right now. And then in 10 minutes, that you is still you, but it's you right now. So it's like this acceptance of like where we are at in every single moment, and just being okay with it, because it's part of our journey.
How can we be okay with the lows, like the very, very lows?
That's still just knowing that it is just part of what you need to experience. And it's so hard to see it when you're in the low. You know, it's so hard, or it's so easy to look at a top of a mountain and look down and be like, oh yeah, I see that down there. It's so easy, you know, to understand at the end of the whole situation why it happened. You know, I went through that because now I'm this person. But if you can practice being at the low and just knowing that there is a top of that mountain. I can't see it yet, but I know that there is. That's what helps me, you know, is that, okay, if I'm at a high and I know that I'm here because of that low, well, what's the opposite of that? If you're in the low, you know that there is a whole other side to that. So it's just the reminding, you know, that this is going to pass, and that this is what's supposed to be happening. And that we survive through it. Like, we're not going to die from this low place. You're not going to be here forever. You know, this is where you're at right now. And it's not a big deal. Like, it can just be just a part of it. I mean, you watch a movie and they're going through some stuff, and then it's done. And then they're somewhere else. Yeah. And then we're somewhere else. And then we're somewhere else.
That's true, yeah.
We allow the mind to kind of like try to overanalyze and like fix. The mind is like our fixer, right? It's like what keeps us alive while we're here. So when we get in that space, we get into like survival mode, and then the mind takes over and is like, what do I need to do? How do I need to fix this situation? How do I this? That's why a yoga practice of calming the mind, quieting the mind, in yoga in any form, physical yoga, Kundalini Yoga, meditation, breath work, whatever it is, cooking, knitting, whatever, to quiet the mind and see that it's our tool, but it also can be hazardous whenever we don't have the balance between the mind and the soul. The soul knows why we're here. And that's why my yoga practice is my constant coming back to myself. I try to do yoga every single day. I do yoga mostly every single day, but whenever I particularly have like a struggle in life, come back to yoga, come back to my mat. Well, I don't even have, come back to my altar where I do yoga, and come back to that place of reminding myself and understanding, okay, all is well. I'm where I'm supposed to be. Because when we get in that hard space, it is so easy for the mind to start to worry. That's where other people are so helpful too. Like whenever I get into a hard space and then I tell you and you're like, just breathe, it'll all be fine. Like I needed that so bad, even though I know that when I'm in a good place. But when you're not in that place and your mind is going stinking crazy and someone else just reminds you, like, remember, we breathe, this will pass, it's fine. That's pretty much what like a yoga practice is. It's that coming back to that place of knowing that what's going on is what it is in the full consciousness aspect.
So how did you decide, like what was it that made you decide that you want to help people?
Oh, because I was in such a stinking low place and I flipped it around on my own. And I'm like, people can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. Literally. I'm nothing special. None of us are anything special than anybody else. We all have the full potential. We all have the same exact tools. You have the same exact energy sitting there that I do. You have the same mind that I do. It works in different ways, but you have all of the tools that I required to do that. And it's not something that's super common around here. Yeah. It's not, but it's so, and everybody's like on these self-healing journeys, and I love every modality. I love psychedelics. I love sound healing. I love absolutely everything because they all work in their own magical way. But Kundalini energy is our specific energy of self-healing and consciousness and self-awareness and evolution. We have that. So nobody needs anything other than that, and just a little bit of direction and understanding on like how it works.
Yeah. I feel like even just having the awareness that the energy is in there and it can be used.
That alone.
Yeah. Because you can just be like, all right, mind, like, can I have a little bit of what that thing she calls Kundalini energy? Can you go over here?
I love that you said that because what is that? Awareness. What is awareness? Kundalini energy. So that, yes. So that's how simple it is. That thought right there is raising Kundalini energy. Anything that raises your self-awareness or your consciousness is raising the Kundalini energy, asking for it. Our intention, we have this mind to set an intention. Our mind makes our reality. So if there's somebody out there and they're like, okay, what is a foolproof thing that I can do so simple to like start my self-healing and raise my Kundalini energy? Literally ask for it. Start asking. Start telling the universe that you are ready by asking for opportunity, Kundalini energy, something. And you don't even have to do anything. You definitely can. There's so much that you can do. But the act of setting the intention and using the mind to put the awareness on the request will do it. We'll start the ball rolling. And then from there, the universe will gift back some gateway eventually somewhere. It'll spark enough increased awareness to then realize that you need to go do this, or increase enough of this to go do this. It will start the ball rolling. But the first step is you having to want to do it. Laying in bed and being like, okay, this is as low as I'm comfortable getting. Something's got to give. Yeah. That's when it started for me. I said, this isn't how it's going to be. I'm going to start fixing it. And then there was opportunity that came in and opportunity that came in, and you don't even realize it at the time that it's an opportunity that comes in, but it comes coming in just by asking for it. It's the best way to do it. I love that you said that. And being in a room of people doing Kundalini energy. They say that being in a room with somebody doing Kundalini yoga has 90% of the benefits as doing the yoga yourself. You could just sit and watch somebody on a video doing Kundalini yoga, and it's going to increase.
Why is that? How?
Well, being in a room with it, like energy as within, so without, right? So like I raise my Kundalini energy, and that energy is not going to just like stay within the box of my vessel, because there is no rigid.
Well, energy is a vibration, so the bigger the vibration,
right,
the further out it goes.
Yes, and that's why I love doing in-person class. And I've like gone back and forth, you know, we have such like a digital age, and it's so awesome, the access that you have. I'm not against technology anymore, because the access that we have to information and potential is just amazing. People could live off in the middle of nowhere and they could get all the information that they want. So like that increases the potential so much, because our soul is trapped inside a vessel on human earth. So, okay, well, we come to earth and we need information, you know, we're in a body with a mind that processes. So now that we have access information, the potential is just like, for people to like get what they need. But whenever you're in a room with people doing Kundalini yoga, it's just different, because you're in the actual room with them. I can give out that vibration, and it, whether you notice it or not, is penetrating through your energy, your vibration, and making changes just by being in there, just by being in that space, because you've been in Kundalini yoga class, and the energy in the room is just magical. You open your eyes and we all feel like we're in a different universe. We feel like we're like back in South Dakota or something. You know, you open your eyes and you're just like, where did I just step into? And I don't feel like you have that as
And that's
much.
a place we can always come back to.
Yes.
It doesn't just have to be all together.
Yes, because and now my yoga practice, I have to do it. I have to get back. It's the only way I can think and survive on this planet, is just coming back to myself, because we're surrounded, especially in the West, because we're surrounded by so much of the way that it's not supposed to be, or the way that we don't thrive. We're kind of like, we're surrounded by this energy. And we have to like be maintaining our best space, you know? We're surrounded by people, we're surrounded by hustle and bustle, we're surrounded by toxins and just, you know, everything that I can't function without doing yoga. You know, I start to lose myself. It's a practice, you know, so thankfully I've gotten to a place now where like I'm not needing to use a video anymore, and I mention that because that's when the magic really starts to happen, when you start to become your truest teacher. Because with Kundalini yoga, we've got with yoga in general, we are our truest teacher. You know, it's helpful to have a class or a teacher or someone to get you started, or to kind of come back to deepen your practice. Like I still do Kundalini yoga practices with teachers that are far beyond my capability and my knowledge, to expand my practice. But really the magic starts to happen when you get to a place of doing your own internal yoga, becoming more sensitive to your own energy, feeling things move, feeling where things are blocked, awakening some of that energy, literally just with your mind real quick, awakening some of it and sending it there and transmuting it from darkness to light and just letting it go back. It's like, it's like cleaning a table. Like, oh, there's just a little something there, and we just like wash it off, and then like we're back to ourself. So I can't truly lose myself again as long as I keep coming back to yoga. Life still throws crap at me. I had crap thrown at me twice today, and I wasn't in the best place. You know, my mind was starting to worry, and I'm human still. My emotions were starting to get really heavy, and I was starting to get lost. And it was just trapped energy, you know, and come back to yoga, move it out of the way, come back to myself, relax, knowing that everything is fine, and then I was able to show up here back at my highest self, you know, my current highest self.
Because you know you've learned how the modalities that you need to do, that you have in place to get you back here.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing now is trying to help people like learn,
find their yoga.
So that when they are stuck in certain situations, they can use these things to get themselves in a place where everything's going to be okay. Like,
yeah, and it starts with cleansing the energy. So like that's the kriyas. That's the purpose of the kriyas. Getting everybody back to their self, working through all of the stuff that they were told and everything, so that they know who they truly are, and they see the divine light that's in them and how magically magnificent each and every person is, because each and every person actually is. And once you see it within yourself, you see it for everybody else too. Like, I actually look at people walking down the street or in the grocery store in all of their turmoil and their muck, and I'm just like, man, you are just like a divine, magnificent freaking gift here. My goodness. Every single person actually is.
But they're like clouded with these thoughts that's not possible.
Just running 1,000 miles a minute, and it's not hard for them to get back to their true self. It's just, everything is just energy. It can all be cleaned. It can be done by yourself.
You know, like, I would always get this question like, how are you so happy? Why are you so happy? Why are you so bubbly? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like a choice. I don't know. You know,
it's like a choice.
I'm like, I don't know. I can, you know, and then like, I just started to like really think about that question, observe that question, and like watch myself and like, why? What do I do that makes me, and I'm, you know, and I was always confused by that too, because I'm like, I'm not like always happy. Like, I just am happy when I'm with other people. I don't know, like, I still like stumble across that question, and like, I feel like it's yoga. It's yoga. If there's a word to describe like how it's I care about my body, I care about my mind, I do what you know, it's like you do these things, you learn so much about yourself that you're able to make sure that you stay in a good place. By doing the things that you know that you need.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because we didn't brief in the beginning that yoga is not just a physical practice. Yoga is just what gets you like in that zone. You know, it can be pottery, it can be knitting, it can be dancing, it can be walking, it can be whatever that gets you to a place where you can listen to yourself and observe yourself and separate out, whether you realize it or not, kind of like your ego and your mind and your emotions and your soul, and start like depicting what's truly going on in your internal world. So yoga is like it's the internal world of you. You know, for me personally, it's sitting down, closing my eyes, tuning in with the mantra that we started with today. It would be like an actual like intentional yoga practice, and then breathing to slow down the mind so that I can start to listen to the thoughts that actually matter, and not the you know, I worry, okay, why am I worrying? Okay, what's actually going on here? And it starts to slow things down to a point that we can process them, because our minds are so fast and so like sporadic that we can't process all of that. So once it starts to slow down, then you can process. and then start moving things out. For me, a lot of what goes on energetically for me is within the body, so it needs to be moved out. So I do have a lot of physical yoga practice in my personal practice, but it doesn't have to be that way for everybody. There should be some physical aspect to it because we are a physical being, and that energy gets trapped in the physical body and needs to be moved out and taken care of. But it doesn't need to just be this physical stretching and movement type practice that people imagine whenever they think of, or when someone says yoga. You know, it's not just downward dogs and leg lifts and that sort of thing. That is part of it, but
I thought about this today, like my shoulder was hurting, and I was like, my shoulder isn't like usually hurt. I'm like, I wonder what kind of stress I'm holding there.
Yeah, I love that. Yes.
Because I'm like, it's not like I have a shoulder problem. I'm like, whoa, why did I travel there today? That's interesting. So I just kind of like, was aware of it, and then tomorrow it'll be probably not there. As long as I I'm kind of like breathing, I'll think about the space, and I'll just like,
am I holding tension there again? Yeah.
Breathe it out, move it around. Like you said, grab that energy. I've actually never thought about that. I didn't realize, one of those things where I'm like, I'm not realizing that I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. It's like, I'm grabbing some of that Kundalini energy and just being aware that I don't have a shoulder injury. That's just where something's trapped right now.
Yeah, move her out. Get her gone.
Maybe it was from lifting some buckets of ice, maybe. But it'll be gone.
Well, we can still heal it with some Kundalini energy. People have literally unparalyzed themselves with Kundalini energy, so fix that shoulder. Fix it up.
I'm like, and there's another episode that needs to be talked about.
All in good time.
So much. Yeah.
So anything else? Could literally keep talking for stinking hours.
I know, but we're probably up for time, huh?
Yeah.
Like an hour ago.
Really?
Really?
No, maybe like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
It's not too bad.
That was 2 hours?
Well, we have like a break time for the next person.
Okay.
But yeah.
Dang.
No, but I always feel like I just went on a journey. I'm like, wait, okay, so where are we?
Man, I feel like we didn't even touch the surface. Wild.